Welcome back to our show. We are lucky enough to have Scot Appert join us once again, one of the premier healthy ecological builders in the country, as well as a certified building biologist and environmental consultant. Scot, how are you, my man?
I'm good, Ben. Good to be back.
It's good to see you. Hey,
Thanks.
real quick, and I want to get into water quality because that is something that really, I guess water quality is going down and there's some ways to fix it. But, we were just talking with Sherry Kunis about these prefab homes and how they're built in factories.
Yep.
Do you have any thoughts on that as far as from an ecological standpoint?
Well, I agree that there can be definitely some efficiencies with building, in a factory. And I do know somebody that did a very healthy home in that setting. But I also think you can do the same thing with, in a built on site also.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it has its advantages, but it's not exclusive to just the pre-built.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense. It kind of depends on who the builder is.
Yeah,
Anybody can
exactly.
be wasteful, and some people can be less wasteful.
Well, there's professionals on both levels,
Yeah.
As well as people that maybe don't do as high quality work.
Well, Scot, you've inspected and really provided consulting services for hundreds of homes and commercial spaces, and pretty much every one of these has a few things in common. They're probably going to have a roof, they're probably going to have electricity, and they're probably going to have running water.
Yes.
Water, however, is one of those things that people, drink pretty much every day, or you should, maybe even 8 glasses.
It's required to live,
It's
yes.
required, and it's like breathing.
Yeah.
But maybe people don't realize what is in the water they're drinking and how they can make it safer.
Yeah, well, a lot of the homes, especially homes that were built pre-70s, were using galvanized pipes. There's also, even when you're using copper, there was lead solder that was used, lead flux. And so just because it's coming out of the tap that looks clean doesn't mean necessarily that it's a good, healthy water to be drinking.
Mm-hmm.
There's also things like pesticides, pharmaceuticals. I actually have a list of things that could be possibly arsenic, barium, cadmium, copper, because copper does leach out of copper pipes. Fluoride, which is added, chlorine, things that are added.
Those don't sound healthy, Scot.
Huh?
Those don't sound healthy.
Yeah, they're not. And, we drink a lot of water and also we bathe. And the interesting thing is that our skin is the largest organ in our body. So when we're taking a shower, say, our pores open up and we actually absorb a lot of water and chlorine, et cetera, when we're taking a shower, actually more than like when we drank a glass of water. So basically the recommendation is to have filters, so you get to filter out all the bad stuff. You can have whole house filters like carbon-based or reverse osmosis. You can have point-of-use filters and like shower head filters, things like that. And that will just take out chlorine and other things.
Which of these is probably the most prevalent and maybe the most dangerous to people?
You mean the toxins?
Yeah, the toxins that are in water.
Well,
in the water that's
most
going into people's
prevalent,
cells.
of course, is the fluoride and chlorine that's added to water to kill the bugs. I mean, there's certainly bugs in the water, and so municipalities.
Everybody in the studio is like, "What?"
Well, just like, mold ubiquitous out in the air, and it's unsafe when it comes in your home at a certain level. The same with bugs and other things in our water. There's and just like in our gut, we have good flora, and then when it grows to a certain point, it becomes bad because it overwhelms the good. So just like in our water, if you drink fresh spring water out of the mountains, it's going to have bugs in it, but it doesn't mean it's bad for us, or minerals. Lots of good minerals. But when you start adding other elements that aren't healthy for us,
or you get the wrong bug.
Yeah, or it gets to a level, right? A lot of things are not harmful when they're at a certain level, but as the level gets higher, the concentrations get higher, that's when it becomes a problem for us.
So there's really, it sounds to me like, there are live maybe organisms like viruses, bacteria, but then there's also some more of these like man-made pieces. Talk a little bit about maybe the man-made elements that are found in water, and you talked about the shower head, but where's it all coming from?
Well, it's coming from the prevalence of chemicals, basically. We're using chemicals for fertilizers, for killing all the weeds and killing, of course, all the rodents and bugs around our house. Those get into the groundwater. In agricultural, there's a huge prevalence of using lots of chemicals for agriculture. So all these things can get into the groundwater. An element that's becoming more and more, and we don't deal with that in Seattle, but the fracking issue, where I've seen videos of actually people lighting their water on fire because methane and other gases and are getting into their water supply. So the man-made stuff, it just leaches into the groundwater, or it's, by the fracking, it disturbs the natural order of the earth, and so it cracks things, and so it can get into the whole water system of the earth.
Scot Appert joins us with BioHealthy Homes, talking about the water that's actually, probably coming out of your faucet. Do a lot of people understand or realize the amount of, stuff that is in their water that shouldn't be?
Well, I think so, in the fact that bottled water is one of the leading products out there. But the problem is we don't know where a lot of that water comes from. It could be just tap water that people are selling. Some of it
I believe Aquafina comes from Houston. No kidding. No, it's I think at the bottom of Aquafina it says it's like a PWS, which means public water supply.
Yeah. Well, there are some that are reverse osmosis.
For all you Aquafina fans out there.
Yeah, and they're actually, Environmental Working Group is a great website, and they did a study on waters, and they actually had a list of some of the best and worst bottled water, which you'd be surprised at some of the brands that maybe weren't the best. And also...
Can you tell us what they are? Do you remember?
Well, I was surprised that one of the Whole Foods bottled waters wasn't the best.
Yeah. It's like out of the faucet in the back room, they're just popping it in there.
Yeah, and it was just the amount of elements that were in there that weren't necessarily good for us. And also drinking water out of plastic is not the best, because you get it out of, say, the cold cooler, but it's been packaged, it's been stored, it's been shipped. So, if it's been shipped over a truck, it could be, in high heat for a lot of times, and plastic does leach, especially at high heat, into the water. So drinking things out of the water or out of plastic bottles is not necessarily the best way to go about it. So I just recommend having, clean water and healthy water in your home, and installing a water filter is a great way to do it.
You talked about the point of the water coming out.
Point of use?
Point of use.
Yeah, in the kitchen.
Sure. So, there's that. What about like a Brita? What about there's filters that go under your house, I suppose, or right at the main water supply? Is there any that would be the best you can think of?
Well, as far as drinking water, reverse osmosis is the best in that it takes out pretty much all the negative elements. It also does take out minerals, but I have reverse osmosis, and I have minerals that I add to my drinking water. I take water with me everywhere I go, as I drink a lot of water, but I also add back minerals and electrolytes and other things. So
you reverse osmosis your water,
and
then you add minerals back in?
But I add healthy minerals.
How do you do that?
I have liquid minerals that I buy.
Yeah.
You can get them as super supplements, places, health food stores.
Yeah.
They have all that stuff's available. And I just add it back so I know that the water I'm drinking doesn't have pesticides or any of the negative arsenic, fluoride in it, and then add back healthy stuff. So
you clean it, but then you're adding like an additive to it.
Yeah.
And that's the best
because your body needs minerals, and in a natural setting, if you got spring water out of the mountains, it's going to have a lot of minerals, and that's good for you.
So there it is. So the reverse osmosis filter, which would be the best way to go, and then making sure you're adding stuff back in. I suppose even if you didn't add that back in, you're still getting cleaner water, and you're avoiding the negative stuff.
Yeah, cleaner water. So, you can do whole house filters that you put at the right where it comes into your house, or you can, if you're not going to go to that level, there's carbon-based whole house, there's reverse osmosis. At the point of use, like where you drink in your kitchen, we have drinking water and cooking water. and then shower head filters, things like that. And you can even get filters that you put in a bathtub that changes.
What would you say then? What if you were to do the whole house filter? I mean, what's an average cost on something like that?
Oh, probably depending on the size of the house, water flow, and all those things. Could be between $1,200 and $2,000 for the filter itself. And they're not hard to, any licensed plumber, any professional, sure. It's a pretty easy install.
Well, Scott, thanks so much for joining us. Stick around for a few minutes. I'd love to get a few more of your opinions. When we come back, we'll bring everybody back to the mic, and we'll be back right after this break.